Get ready to experience the pulse-pounding world of Aria, the unstoppable FBI agent who took on the unthinkable. Follow Aria as she battles evil masterminds, uncovers sinister plots, and fights for justice in a world where danger lurks around every corner. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling adventures. Chapter 1: The Encounter. Aria had always been fascinated by the stars. She spent countless hours staring up at the sky, wondering what secrets lay beyond our planet. So, when she got the opportunity to participate in a summer astronomy program at a nearby university, she jumped at the chance. One night, as Aria was setting up her telescope, she noticed something strange in the sky. It was a bright light, moving erratically in the distance. At first, she thought it might be a shooting star, but as it got closer, she realized it was something else entirely. As the object approached, Aria could see that it was disc-shaped, with a glowing ring around the perimeter. She watched in awe as it hovered in the sky, seeming to defy the laws of physics. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the bottom of the craft, illuminating the ground below. Aria felt her heart race as a figure emerged from the light. It was humanoid in shape, but with elongated limbs and a large head. Aria's initial fear turned to wonder as the being approached her, seeming to communicate telepathically. After a few moments of intense communication, the being retreated back into the craft and disappeared into the night sky. Aria was left standing there, still in shock at what she had just witnessed. She knew that this encounter would change her life forever. Chapter 2: The Secret. Aria didn't know what to do with the information she had just acquired. She had seen a UFO and made contact with an extraterrestrial being. It all felt too surreal to be true, but she knew it wasn't just a dream. The next morning, Aria couldn't contain her excitement and told her friend, Max, all about her encounter. Max listened intently, but Aria could tell he wasn't entirely convinced. "You really saw a UFO? Are you sure it wasn't just a drone or something?" Max asked skeptically. "I'm positive. It was like nothing I've ever seen before," Aria replied. Max's doubt was understandable, but Aria knew what she saw. She decided to keep the encounter to herself for now and focus on gathering more evidence. Over the next few days, Aria pored over books and online resources, trying to find anything that could help her understand what she had experienced. She stumbled upon a government conspiracy forum, where users discussed secret military bases and extraterrestrial encounters. Aria was intrigued. She read through countless threads until she found one that caught her eye. It was titled Area 51, The Truth Revealed. Aria's heart raced as she clicked on the link. The post contained detailed information about a secret government base where extraterrestrial technology was being studied. Aria couldn't believe what she was reading. Could it be that her encounter was connected to this secret base? Aria knew she had to investigate further. She started making plans to visit the base and uncover the truth about what the government was hiding. Chapter 3: The Visit. Aria had never been a rule breaker, but the desire to uncover the truth was too strong to resist. She decided to visit the infamous Area 51 in the hope of finding evidence that would prove the existence of extraterrestrial life. Aria made her way to the desert surrounding the base and parked her car on a nearby hill. From there, she could see the massive complex in the distance. The area was heavily guarded, and Aria knew that any attempt to enter the base would be met with resistance. As she was contemplating her next move, a man approached her. He was wearing a black suit and sunglasses, looking like he had stepped out of a spy movie. "What are you doing here?" he asked in a stern voice. Aria tried to come up with an excuse, but the man didn't seem convinced. He looked her up and down, his eyes lingering on the backpack she was carrying. "What's in the bag?" he asked. Aria's heart raced as she tried to think of a response. Just some camera equipment," she stammered. The man seemed to buy her story and let her go. Aria breathed a sigh of relief and made her way back to her car. As she was driving away, she noticed a strange symbol etched onto the side of the man's car. It looked like nothing she had ever seen before. Aria knew she was onto something big. The symbol could be the key to uncovering the truth about Area 51. She decided to investigate further and started researching symbols and their meanings. Days turned into weeks as Aria dug deeper into the mystery of Area 51. She uncovered information that was both shocking and terrifying. The government had been covering up the existence of extraterrestrial life for decades, and they were willing to go to great lengths to keep it hidden. Aria realized that her encounter was just the tip of the iceberg. There was so much more to uncover, and she was determined to get to the bottom of it. Chapter 4: The Break-In. Aria knew that if she wanted to find concrete evidence of extraterrestrial life, she had to get inside Area 51. It was a dangerous mission, but she was willing to take the risk. Aria started planning her break-in meticulously. She studied maps of the base and gathered information about its security systems. She knew that getting in undetected would be nearly impossible, but she was determined to try. One night, Aria put her plan into action. She drove to the base and parked her car outside the perimeter fence. She slipped through the fence and made her way to the nearest building. Aria knew that she had to be quick and quiet. She moved stealthily, avoiding any security cameras or guards. As she made her way deeper into the base, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. She was in way over her head, but it was too late to turn back now. Finally, Aria reached the lab where the extraterrestrial technology was being kept. The door was locked, but Aria had come prepared. She pulled out a set of lockpicks and got to work. It took several minutes, but Aria managed to pick the lock. She pushed the door open and stepped inside the lab. What she saw left her speechless. There were strange objects everywhere, some of them emitting a soft glow. In the center of the room, there was a large, metallic pod. Aria approached it slowly, her heart racing. As she got closer, she noticed that there was a small hatch on the side of the pod. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should open it. But the desire to know the truth was too strong. Aria took a deep breath and opened the hatch. What she saw inside left her gasping in disbelief. Chapter 5: The Discovery. Inside the pod, Aria saw being unlike anything she had ever seen before. It was small, with large, black eyes and a hairless body. It looked up at her with a mixture of curiosity and fear. Aria couldn't believe what she was seeing. This was proof that extraterrestrial life existed, and she was holding it in her hands. Suddenly, she heard a loud noise coming from outside the lab. Aria knew that she had to leave, and fast. She gently placed the being back in the pod and closed the hatch. As she turned to leave, she saw a group of armed guards entering the lab. They looked at her in shock, their weapons trained on her. "What are you doing here?" one of them demanded. Aria knew that she was caught. She had no choice but to tell the truth. "I wanted to see for myself," she said, holding up her hands in surrender. The guards didn't seem to buy her story. They handcuffed her and took her to a holding cell. Days turned into weeks as Aria waited for her fate. She knew that she had messed up big time, but she couldn't help feeling a sense of satisfaction. She had uncovered the biggest secret in human history, and nothing could take that away from her. Finally, Aria was released from custody. The government had decided to let her go, but not before erasing all evidence of her break-in. Aria returned to her normal life, but she was a changed person. She knew that she could never go back to the way things were before. She had seen too much, and she couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the government was hiding from the public. Chapter 6: The Conspiracy. Aria couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Ever since her break-in at Area 51, she had the distinct impression that someone was following her. She tried to ignore it, but the feeling only grew stronger. She started noticing strange cars parked outside her house, and she saw men in black suits lurking around her workplace. Aria knew that she couldn't go on like this. She had to find out who was behind the surveillance and why. She started doing some digging, using all of the skills she had acquired as a journalist. She pored over government documents, searched online forums, and interviewed anyone who might have information. Finally, she found a lead. A whistleblower had come forward, claiming to have inside knowledge of a government conspiracy to cover up the existence of extraterrestrial life. Aria met with the whistleblower, who told her a shocking story. He claimed that the government had been in contact with extraterrestrial beings for decades, and that they had even made secret agreements with them. He said that the government was terrified of the public finding out about the existence of aliens, and that they would stop at nothing to keep it a secret. Aria knew that this was big. She had to get this story out to the public, no matter the cost. But as she started to investigate further, things started to get dangerous. Aria received threatening phone calls, and her computer was hacked. She realized that the government was onto her, and that they would do anything to stop her from exposing the truth. Chapter 7: The Escape. Aria knew that she was in danger. The government was onto her, and she had to get out of town fast. She packed a bag and left her apartment, heading to the bus station. She had no plan, no destination in mind. All she knew was that she had to keep moving. As she waited for her bus, she noticed a man in a black suit watching her from across the street. He looked familiar, like one of the men who had been following her for the past few weeks. Aria knew that she had to act fast. She grabbed her bag and ran to the back of the bus station, where she saw a door marked "Employees Only." She hesitated for a moment, but then decided to take a chance. She pushed the door open and ran down a narrow hallway, hoping that it would lead to an exit. As she reached the end of the hallway, she saw a door marked "Emergency Exit." She pushed it open and found herself outside, in an alleyway. Aria ran as fast as she could, her heart pounding in her chest. She heard footsteps behind her, and knew that she was being pursued. She turned a corner and saw a manhole cover in the middle of the street. She ran to it and lifted it up, revealing a ladder leading down into the darkness. Without thinking, Aria climbed down the ladder and closed the cover behind her. She was in a sewer, but she didn't care. All she knew was that she had escaped, at least for now. Chapter 8: The Safe House. Aria emerged from the sewer, covered in filth and disoriented. She had no idea where she was, but she knew that she had to find a place to hide. As she stumbled down the street, she saw a neon sign that read motel. She headed towards it, hoping that it would be a safe haven. She checked into a room and collapsed onto the bed, exhausted. She knew that she couldn't stay there for long, but at least it was a start. As she lay there, trying to catch her breath, she realized that she had left her laptop behind at her apartment. It was full of sensitive information, and she couldn't risk the government getting their hands on it. She knew that she had to retrieve it, but she also knew that it was too risky to go back to her apartment. She thought for a moment, and then remembered an old friend who lived on the other side of town. He was a tech genius, and she knew that he could help her. Aria left the motel and headed to her friend's house. When she arrived, she explained the situation to him, and he agreed to help her. Together, they came up with a plan. Aria's friend would hack into her computer remotely, retrieve the sensitive information, and then wipe the hard drive clean. It was risky, but it was their best chance. They worked for hours, huddled over the computer, sweating and nervous. Finally, they were done. Aria's friend had successfully retrieved the information, and the hard drive was wiped clean. Aria felt a weight lifted off her shoulders. She knew that she still had a long way to go, but at least now she had a fighting chance. Chapter 9: The Betrayal. Aria and her friend had finished retrieving the information from her laptop and wiping the hard drive clean. They were about to leave the house when they heard a knock on the door. Aria's friend went to answer it, and Aria heard a muffled conversation. She couldn't make out what was being said, but she knew that something was wrong. As her friend returned to the room, Aria saw the look of panic on his face. He whispered to her that he had been threatened by the government to hand over Aria's location. Aria's heart sank. She couldn't believe that her friend had betrayed her. Without a second thought, she grabbed her bag and ran out of the house, leaving her friend behind. She knew that the government would be hot on her trail, so she ran as fast as she could. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew that she had to keep moving. She turned a corner and saw a group of men in black suits waiting for her. She turned around, but there were more men behind her. She was trapped. Aria knew that she had only one option. She pulled out a small vial of liquid from her bag and swallowed it. The men in black suits looked at her in shock as she collapsed onto the ground, convulsing. Aria knew that the liquid was a poison that would kill her within minutes, but it was better than being caught by the government. As her vision began to fade, she saw a man in a white lab coat approach her. He knelt down beside her and whispered in her ear, "Don't worry, we'll take care of you." And then everything went black. Chapter 10: The Experiment. Aria woke up in a white room, feeling disoriented and weak. She tried to get up, but found that she was strapped to a table. As she looked around, she saw a group of scientists watching her from behind a glass window. She realized that she was in some sort of laboratory. One of the scientists approached her, and Aria tried to speak, but found that she couldn't. She was terrified. The scientist explained to her that she had been injected with a serum that would enhance her cognitive abilities. They wanted to study her brain and see how the serum worked. Aria was furious. She had been betrayed, kidnapped, and now she was being used as a lab rat. But she also knew that she couldn't let them get away with it. She had to find a way to escape. She began to concentrate, trying to access her newly enhanced cognitive abilities. Slowly, she felt her mind expanding, and she could feel the serum working. She began to manipulate the straps that were holding her down, using her newfound mental abilities. With a sudden burst of strength, she broke free and jumped off the table. The scientists watched in shock as Aria ran towards the door, but they were too slow to catch her. She burst through the door and ran down the hallway. She could hear the scientists calling out for security, but she didn't stop. She ran faster than she ever had before, using her enhanced cognitive abilities to navigate the complex maze of corridors. Finally, she saw a door at the end of the hallway. She ran towards it, and when she opened it, she found herself outside. She looked around, and saw that she was in the middle of a desert. She had no idea where she was, but she knew that she had to keep running. Aria ran for hours, until she collapsed from exhaustion. She had no idea where she was or where she was going, but she knew that she had to keep moving. Chapter 11: The Truth Revealed. Aria woke up in a daze, unsure of where she was or how she had gotten there. She was lying on a bed in a small, run-down motel room. As she sat up, she saw a man sitting in a chair next to the bed. He introduced himself as an investigative journalist, and he told her that he knew everything about her situation. He explained that he had been investigating the government's secret experiments for years, and that Aria's story was the missing piece to his investigation. Aria was skeptical at first, but as the journalist began to reveal more and more about her situation, she realized that he was telling the truth. He showed her documents, videos, and photographs that proved that the government had been experimenting on human subjects for years, and that Aria was just one of many victims. The journalist told Aria that they had to expose the truth to the world, and that they had to do it together. Aria was hesitant at first, but she knew that it was the right thing to do. They spent the next few days compiling all of the evidence they had gathered, and then they went public. They released a video on the internet that detailed the government's experiments and Aria's story. The video went viral, and within hours, the story was all over the news. The government denied everything at first, but as more evidence came to light, they were forced to admit their involvement. Aria became a hero to many people, and the journalist's investigation won him numerous awards. They both knew that they had risked everything to reveal the truth, but it was worth it. A few months later, Aria received a package in the mail. It was a letter from the journalist, along with a key to a new house and a note that read, "You deserve a new start. You're free now." Aria was overwhelmed with emotion as she realized that she had finally found a way to move on from her past. She packed her bags and headed to her new home, ready to start a new life. Chapter 12: The New Beginning. Aria walked into her new home, still in disbelief that she had been given this incredible opportunity. The house was beautiful, with large windows that let in the sunlight and a cozy living room that was perfect for relaxing. She set down her bags and explored the rest of the house. There was a spacious kitchen, a large bedroom with an ensuite bathroom, and even a home office. As she walked around the house, Aria couldn't help but feel grateful for the journalist who had helped her. He had given her a chance to start over, to leave her past behind and build a new life for herself. Over the next few weeks, Aria settled into her new home and began to explore her new surroundings. She made new friends, joined a gym, and even started volunteering at a local animal shelter. For the first time in a long time, Aria felt truly happy. She had a new lease on life, and she was determined to make the most of it. As she sat on her couch one evening, enjoying the quiet of her new home, she realized that she had never felt this content before. She had been through so much, but she had come out the other side stronger and more resilient than ever. Aria knew that she had the journalist to thank for all of this. Without him, she never would have been able to escape the government's experiments or start over in a new place. She decided to write him a letter, thanking him for everything he had done. She poured her heart out onto the page, expressing her gratitude for his help and his kindness. A few days later, she received a response from the journalist. It was a short note, but it meant the world to her. It read, "You deserve this. Keep moving forward. I'm proud of you." Aria smiled as she read the note, feeling grateful for the support of the journalist and for the new life that she had been given. She knew that she still had a lot of work to do to heal from her past, but she was ready to face it head on. Chapter 13, The Unexpected Twist. Aria woke up to a loud knock on her front door. She groggily made her way to the door and opened it to find a man standing there. He was tall, with broad shoulders and piercing blue eyes. "Can I help you?" Aria asked, still half asleep. The man introduced himself as an FBI agent and explained that he needed to speak with her about the government's experiments. Aria was taken aback. She had thought that the government had admitted their involvement and that everything was over. The agent explained that there was still a lot of information that the government was keeping secret, and that he needed Aria's help to uncover the truth. Aria was hesitant at first, but the agent promised that he was on her side and that he would do everything in his power to make sure that she was protected. As they began to work together, Aria learned more about the government's experiments than she had ever thought possible. She realized that there were still people out there who were suffering, and she knew that she had to do everything in her power to help them. But as they got closer to the truth, Aria began to realize that there were people who didn't want her to succeed. She started receiving threatening messages and phone calls, warning her to stop what she was doing. Aria knew that she was in danger, but she refused to back down. She was determined to uncover the truth, no matter what the cost. As she and the agent continued to investigate, they uncovered a shocking conspiracy that went all the way to the top of the government. They realized that they had to act fast if they were going to stop the people who were responsible for the experiments. Aria and the agent worked tirelessly, gathering evidence and putting together a case that would expose the truth. And finally, after months of hard work, they were ready to go public. But as they prepared to release their findings, Aria received one final threat. It was a warning to stay quiet, or else. Aria knew that she couldn't back down now. She had come too far and risked too much to let the truth go unknown. With the help of the agent and her own determination, she released the information to the public. The fallout was immediate. The government officials who had been involved were exposed, and the public demanded justice. Aria knew that she had done the right thing, even though it had put her in danger. She was proud of what she had accomplished and knew that her work was far from over. Chapter 14: The Aftermath. The aftermath of Aria's revelation was a flurry of media attention and government investigations. The officials responsible for the experiments were put on trial, and Aria was hailed as a hero by many. But for Aria, the aftermath was not as simple as she had hoped. She was thrust into the public eye, and everywhere she went, people recognized her. She received letters and emails from people who had suffered as a result of the experiments, and she struggled to cope with the weight of their stories. At the same time, Aria found that she was no longer sure of her place in the world. Her job at the lab had been her entire life for so long, and now that it was gone, she didn't know what to do next. One day, while she was sitting in a coffee shop, a woman approached her. "Are you Aria?" the woman asked. Aria nodded, surprised. "I just wanted to thank you," the woman said. "My son was one of the people who was affected by the experiments. Thanks to you, he's getting the help he needs. I don't know what we would have done without you." Aria was overwhelmed. She had never expected to receive thanks for what she had done. It was enough for her to know that she had made a difference, but to hear it from someone else was truly humbling. As time went on, Aria began to adjust to her new life. She started volunteering at a local organization that helped people who had been affected by medical experiments, and she found that helping others gave her a sense of purpose. She also began to make new friends and form new relationships. She had always been so focused on her work that she had never had time for anything else, but now she was learning to enjoy the simple pleasures in life. One day, while she was out for a walk, Aria received a call from the FBI agent she had worked with. He had been promoted, and he wanted Aria to join him in his new division. Aria was thrilled. She had never thought about working for the FBI, but the thought of being able to help people on a larger scale was exciting. She accepted the offer and started her new job with enthusiasm. She worked hard and made a difference, but she never forgot where she had come from. As she looked back on her journey, Aria realized that the unexpected twists and turns had led her to exactly where she was meant to be. Chapter 15: The Final Revelation. Aria had been working for the FBI for several years when she received a call from her former colleague, Dr. Parker. She hadn't spoken to him since the incident at the lab, and she was surprised to hear from him. "Hello, Aria," Dr. Parker said. "I hope you're doing well." "I am," Aria replied cautiously. She wasn't sure what Dr. Parker wanted. "I wanted to talk to you about something," Dr. Parker said. "Something important." Aria listened as Dr. Parker told her about a new project that he was working on. It was a project that he had been working on for years, he said, and it was something that could change the world. Aria was skeptical. She remembered all too well what had happened the last time Dr. Parker had been working on a project that he believed could change the world. But something about his tone intrigued her, and she agreed to meet with him. When Aria arrived at Dr. Parker's lab, she was surprised to see how different it looked from the last time she had been there. It was cleaner, brighter, and more organized. Dr. Parker led her to a small room where he had set up a series of screens and equipment. "This is it," he said, gesturing at the screens. "This is what I've been working on." Aria peered at the screens, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. There were images of brain waves, diagrams of the human nervous system, and charts tracking the body's vital signs. Dr. Parker explained that he had been working on a way to map the human brain in real time. With this technology, he said, doctors would be able to diagnose and treat diseases more accurately and efficiently than ever before. Aria was impressed, but she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. She remembered all too well what had happened the last time Dr. Parker had been so obsessed with a project. "Is this safe?" she asked. Dr. Parker assured her that the technology was completely safe. He had taken every precaution, he said, to ensure that it wouldn't cause harm. Aria thought about it for a moment. She knew that the technology could revolutionize medicine and save countless lives. But she also knew the risks that came with Dr. Parker's single-minded pursuit of scientific progress. In the end, Aria made a decision. She would support Dr. Parker's project, but she would also keep a close eye on him, making sure that he didn't cross any ethical lines. As she left the lab, Aria realized that her journey was far from over. There would always be new challenges and unexpected twists and turns, but she was ready to face them. Chapter 16: The Legacy of Aria. Years passed, and Aria continued to work for the FBI, solving cases and making a name for herself as one of the most skilled agents in the Bureau. Dr. Parker's brain mapping technology became a widely used tool in the medical community, saving countless lives and revolutionizing the way doctors approach the treatment of neurological disorders. But Aria never forgot the lessons she had learned during her time with Dr. Parker. She remained vigilant, always on the lookout for scientists who were more interested in their own ambitions than the welfare of the people they were supposed to be helping. Aria's reputation as a tough, no-nonsense agent grew, and she became known as someone who would stop at nothing to get the job done. But those who knew her best also knew that she had a compassionate side, and that she would do anything to protect the people she cared about. Eventually, Aria retired from the FBI, but her legacy lived on. Her name became synonymous with justice and integrity, and she inspired countless young men and women to pursue careers in law enforcement. As she looked back on her life, Aria knew that she had made a difference in the world. She had faced danger, uncertainty, and unexpected challenges, but she had never lost sight of her values. Aria smiled as she thought about the journey she had taken, and the people she had met along the way. She knew that there would always be more mysteries to solve, more cases to crack, and more lives to save. But for now, she was content to enjoy the peace and quiet of her retirement, knowing that she had left the world a better place than she had found it. The end.